is that the media doesn't know how to handle Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark know how to handle it. The media's parachuted in and awkwardly defended Clark, who's like, I don't need defending. It's basketball. That was my initial take. It's still my take. She's an excellent player. Both are, actually. And that they're fine. And that there were 130 flagrants this year in the NBA. There were 65 last year in the WNBA, exactly half, and they have exactly half the games. So flagrants happen. Sometimes not by villains. Many of the most liked players commit a flagrant. Things happen in sports. And I'm going to double down on this, is that Angel and Caitlin, for their age, are handling it almost like Dak Prescott level, where they go to the podium, they know exactly what they're doing. It is us that doesn't know how to handle it, parachuting in.
That is exactly right. So that is exactly right. So, like, listen, if I were advising Caitlin Clark, would I have told her, hey, there are some really nefarious bad actors using you to be divisive, and you might want to get out ahead of this earlier than she did? Yes, I would have advised her for that, but I think she has handled all of this scrutiny in her early 20s and fame and all of it I give her like a A- on the grade sheet. Angel Reese, would I have advised her, hey, if you're going to kind of lean into the villain role at the press conference, don't say the refs, took control of the game. There could be a little more accountability right after the moment. Sure, but I give her an A- in how she's handled it. I give the internet and the sports media not only an F, but you have to repeat the class. It is shameful what we're doing to these two young women. And the way they are being used as pawns in what is our never-ending national culture war that has race at the forefront of it. The fact that there are folks that paid for verified Twitter accounts and are now trying to suckle off Elon's money by putting up disingenuous, fanning the flame tweets, whether it is that, Caitlin Clark is this delicate flower that needs to be protected, Angel Reese is some predatory villain, or the flip side of it, the folks tweeting, actually, when you look at it, Caitlin Clark, not that good at basketball, all to get engagement because they're going to get a check from Twitter at the end of the month is shameful. What is undeniably true is this. These two young women, who are the two most famous players in the league, far from the two best, but right now they're the two most famous, they have been the best and the second best rookie so far this year. The only two rookies averaging more than 10 points a game, these two. Caitlin, one of two players in the league averaging 15, 5, and 5. Angel, the only rookie averaging double-digit rebounds. And neither one of them is playing into this whole they hate each other piece. I do think there's a real rivalry. I do think there is competitive fire. And what they are doing, Colin, if I may just quickly, it is exactly what the media begs NBA guys to do. Oh, back in Michael's era, people weren't so buddy-buddy. Now everyone's friends. Where's the competitive fire? We are seeing it, and we're complaining about it and trying to turn it into something that it's not. It's a great basketball story, and it's great for the league. At some point, it will go back to being a basketball story. Yeah, I think the girls are great. I mean, it is, and I will say this with a bunch of kids in my life, is that my kids are more mature than I was. And certainly at this time, they've grown up with tech, and they've gotten access to more information, and they're smarter. And I think a lot of it is Caitlin Clark has watched how to handle controversies in her life. She's been a rock star for 2 or 3 years. She's brilliant at the podium. And Angel Reese is kind of leaning into the villain, and that's okay too, because that's okay too. Yeah, I have defended Draymond Green, not just because he works at my company. Oh, you don't say.
occasionally, rarely, infrequently. But the point is, Steve Kerr considers him, after Curry, the most valuable commodity, the most valuable player. There's what Angel's doing is needed on virtually every basketball team in time.
And if I may just quickly, and then I know
I want to quickly interject real fast, because what's needed is the media to continue to fan all these flames. They're acting like the media is trying to boycott the WNBA, or that fans want to boycott. This is the publicity. This is the eyes, the energy that the WNBA needed. So I don't understand why they're acting like these reactions of people getting mad at Angel Reese, or mad that Caitlin Clark is getting fouled, or mad that people are saying Caitlin Clark is trash and not that good, or mad that people are saying that Angel Reese is a bully. They're acting like that's unique. You know who's actually babying these players more? Not the general media, but actually Nick Wright here more. And I hate to say it, but Colin Cowherd. And you know that Colin Cowherd's my favorite one, favorite media member in all of this. But they're the ones that are babying them, acting like that we can't have these kind of conversations, that people can't tweet that. People talk about LeBron James being trash all the time. Obviously, I disagree with it, and obviously majority of fans disagree with it, but there is plenty of fans that act like LeBron James isn't even a top 10 player, which is obviously absurd. Okay? People say that Draymond Green is a bully and should be suspended for 20 games and thrown out of the league, blah, 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 blah. These were all conversations that we've had for years and years and years. And I got news for you, right? Like, they all make it about culture wars. They all make it about, what people look like. I'm anti that. I don't want to talk about that type of stuff. But to act like it's just these guys over here and not not the media, that's insane. Now, to Colin's defense in that regard, I don't want to act like Colin fans the culture war flames, because I don't think he does. That last comment was more directed towards Nick, because Nick always wants to bring up culture war stuff whenever he can. If you ever listen to him with a podcast with Colin, when they're doing like their own thing separately from the herd or First Things First, he always brings up politics. And Nick Wright is always bringing up politics about like Aaron Rodgers, or he's always talking about that guy who, was a big political guy. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to make, I don't want YouTube to ever flag these videos as, political. He's always bringing that stuff up. So it's just nonsense that he thinks that he's on the outside while all these other people are doing that. And it's just not accurate. It's just not accurate.
You got to go. It is so patronizing to both of them. Acting as if Caitlin needs protecting. She has been a badass as a basketball player her whole life.
Yeah.
She doesn't need protecting. And acting as if Angel is infallible in everything and that any criticism is unfair. She is a star athlete.
Yeah.
You know what we do with star athletes? Pick at them. Criticize them. They are both, and they will both be better for this, for going through this. And I think eventually they are going to be the actual earned faces of the league rather than, great college players who are having good rookie seasons. Yeah. And it'll be excellent for it. But people are uncomfortable with the fact that Caitlin, the hot shot, high scoring rookie that's a little undersized, is getting beat up a bit. Yeah. But that is the story of sports.
Yes.
And it is not about her being a white girl, and it is not about any of this other stuff. She is this rookie that is trying to light the league on fire. Yeah. And bigger people are going to remind her it's not going to be that easy. That is how sports work, guys. Yeah. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And fans defend who they love and who they cheer for. Stop acting like people are defending Caitlin Clark because she's a woman. That's patronizing by Nick Wright, to assume that people are fans of her and supporting her and defending her because she's a woman. That's insane. Nick Wright defends, till he's blue in the face, he defends any criticism towards LeBron James, Luka, Kyrie Irving, any of the other players that he loves, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. He does it until he's blue in the face. Patrick Mahomes has never made a mistake. Luka has never made a mistake. When Luka fouled out of the game and was complaining at refs, he randomly brought up Steph Curry, something that happened with Steph Curry 7-8 years ago. Was that was that inappropriate of Nick Wright to defend Luka because Luka is a man and can handle it himself or whatever? Like, that's insane now. That is absolute insanity to say that people are defending Caitlin Clark and that it's insulting to her because she's a woman and that she doesn't need people to defend her. That's what fandom is. They yell at the other players that they don't like, and they defend their own players, right? Go to Philadelphia, go to New York, go to wherever. Let's pick a major city. Let's Philly, for instance, right? We know that they have intense fans. Someone says that Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback, and they freak out and say, "Are you serious? Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. Look what he did in the Super Bowl. He outdueled Patrick Mahomes, blah, 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 blah." Are they doing it because he's a guy? Because of his skin color? Like I don't understand the argument here. Like, that doesn't make any sense. The fact that you're pointing it out, that it's weird that people are defending Caitlin Clark, is insane. I'll defend Caitlin Clark or I'll defend anyone, but I'm not doing it because she's a woman. I'm not doing it because she needs protection, because she's just a little old girl. Like, that's insane. They're treating these women exactly like they treat men. Exactly. If LeBron James had multiple flagrant fouls at him, they would all, the fans, the LeBron stans, as the cool kids say these days, would be all over it, saying how LeBron's a target and how it's not right and this, that, and the third. And then the same people would still talk about it on First Taste, First Things First, wherever. It would also be stories. Because the truth is, no one really wants to talk about, the Fever versus Sky 91, 83-point game. They want to talk about the drama. There's more headlines about where LeBron James is going to go next season. What about his son? What about this? What about that? They talk about more about that drama than the actual games itself. You think every single game people can just talk about the points and the X's and O's? I mean, that was JJ Redick's whole thing. That people rather talk about this other stuff rather than the actual X's and O's. So this isn't unique to women's sports or the WNBA. And to act like that is true is just so disingenuous. So disingenuous. And it's just flat out wrong. And so the other thing that I wanted to add here is this idea that people are saying that this is so inherently unique. Listen. The WNBA has fouls and they have flagrant fouls. And that's why Colin pointed out, like, hey, look, it's the same amount of flagrant fouls. No one is necessarily saying that these flagrant fouls are inherently wrong or inappropriate or unique to Caitlin Clark or the first time they ever happened was towards Caitlin Clark. That's not what the argument is. And then the other argument is they're saying, well, why is Caitlin Clark getting all of this publicity when Angel Reese has had, flagrant fouls towards her and stuff? And there's multiple reasons why. One, Caitlin Clark is arguably one of the most famous athletes in the world right now, men and women included. She is wildly popular. And now the people that want to act, like Nick Wright is also being disingenuous here because he says, oh, well, the culture war people want to make it about race, and say that it's because she's a white girl why she's getting all this hate. And it's like, the other side did that first. Nobody was talking about race until the other side brought it up and said, hey, this is happening. She's so popular because of what she looks like. Then people started now going back and challenging it when she's getting all this hate. Like, of course, that's what they're going to do. They're going to bring up. So believe me, the Nick side is the one that brought it up. Now, and also Nick's defense, because I do want to be as fair as possible as I can, he did call out Angel Reese when Angel Reese did the whole, villain thing and was crying at the podium or whatever. Like, he did call her out and say this isn't happening because of your race, yada, yada, yada. This is social media, this, that. So I do want to say that Nick was at least consistent in that regard. Like, he did try to de-emphasize race in that moment, even though it technically was on his side of the political ideological spectrum, I should say. So I do want to give him credit for that, which I think is very fair. And I think he does come from a very unique perspective, right? He's married to a black woman. I don't know if they're officially married, but I think they recently got married. He's got, black children and all stuff like that. So he's got a very unique and I think most likely grounded perspective in that regard. So I think he is a voice worth listening to in that regard, whether you agree with him or disagree with him. I think it's always valuable. But in terms though of the fouls that, why it gets so much attention, again, Caitlin Clark is wildly popular, and it's not even close. The Caitlin Clark games versus the non-Caitlin Clark games, it's like night and day. It's like 3x the ratings. I mean, it's just not even close what Caitlin Clark is doing. So that's why everyone's talking about it. That's why it's so much more of note. There's flagrant fouls in the NBA all the time, but better believe the flagrant fouls towards Steph Curry, towards LeBron James, get more replays than the one towards, I don't even know, Tyrese Maxey. Like, name anyone, any random player. So that's the difference. Let's also be very clear. I have 3 highlights lined up right now that we're going to, they're very short, about the fouls. Okay? This is this foul on Angel Reese. Okay? The one that people are saying a choke slam. First off, let's be very clear what we're about to watch. It's a backhand. Both players are at a weird, awkward angle, and the other player is just a lot bigger, Alyssa Thomas, and she's trying to box out. So it's a backhand. And Angel, her backhand, she doesn't even really follow through very hard or even use a lot of force. It's trying to box out to get the rebound. And again, you are weaker, not even close, with a backhand than a forehand. It's not even close. So let's watch this clip. That people are saying she got
Angel Reese is a Baltimore, Maryland native.
We don't need to hear that. Look at that. She barely gets hit. The Alyssa Thomas's arm doesn't sling back. It's not like a slap to the neck. It's literally just like a gentle, obviously with some force behind it, but nothing outrageous here. I mean, what are we talking about here? She doesn't even fully follow through. If anything, Angel Reese just kind of falls and loses her balance, which all you do is need a little bit of a push to lose your balance. But her muscles are barely even contracting backwards. It's literally nothing. Okay? So to act like that's the same as these fouls, it's not even close.
Clark, hammer.
Look at this. She gets whacked in the head with actual windup while she's airborne, which is an infinitely more dangerous of a play. Infinitely more dangerous of a play. When you're up in the air and now you're getting whacked in the head and now you're falling back, you can get so much more hurt than having your feet planted, being boxed out, and just kind of pushed back like that. That's why NBA players get furious when they go up for a layup and get fouled like that or get kind of pushed, because all you do is have to gently push someone in the back and they go flying, they lose their balance, and so many injuries can happen. It's an incredibly, arguably the most dangerous play in the NBA. So to act like that's the same thing, that those fouls are equivalent, is comically absurd, because this is just a straight up hit. And again, the flagrant fouls happen. If this was more of a one-off thing, then you could understand. But we know Angel Reese has a history with Caitlin Clark. We know that. And then you have this foul, and this has nothing to do with basketball. Nothing. So you want to ask, why do we think Caitlin Clark is being targeted? Because look at her. She literally targets her. She literally curses at her and then just body slams her. And her own teammate doesn't even do anything about it. She just helps her up and kind of smirks. In the NBA, the person inbounding that ball would have immediately dropped the ball and would have ran to her, to Carter, and would have gotten in her face, would have yelled at her, would have done all that. So yeah, the fans also sense that. So now the fans even extra defended as well. So again, that's also counter to Nick's point about the defending, because we have other players defend other players all the time. Are they doing it because they think that their teammate is weak or that the other players are weak? No, it's just what you do when you're competitive, when you're a fan, when you're a player, when you're whatever. So again, though, look at her cursing at her randomly, and I'm not going to act like that's like the most severe foul, right? I'm not acting like that is such a hard foul, and again, Carter should be suspended now and this. That's not what I'm saying, but it's not. It's just clearly a target towards Caitlin Clark, and because of that, we're allowed to talk about it. We're allowed to emphasize that and highlight that. It's a real thing. Now, again, if Caitlin Clark didn't have all this fame and all this popularity and wasn't already divisive, and those fouls took place, it would be less of a story because you wouldn't be focused on, is the league out to get Caitlin Clark, or are these women out to get Caitlin Clark and the fan base and this and that? But that's what the story has become. So when you enter into the WNBA and now these fouls are taking place at a high rate, she's getting fouled with a lot of non-basketball plays. Remember that I don't have this lined up, but the free throws where the one person shot the free throw and running to try to like guard Caitlin Clark when like she still had another free throw. The WNBA has this obsession with Caitlin Clark. Okay? And so now you're acting like the fans won't follow suit or the fans won't want to defend that. It's just all crazy to me. But again, I think it's a net positive for the WNBA, all of this drama, all of this, without a doubt. So I just reject this idea that even the media is doing something wrong. I do wish that we didn't bring in culture to it. I really do. I'm very much like, let's leave that to the side. That's why I don't even really enjoy talking about it on this channel, and I try to avoid it unless it seems to be completely relevant. But that was brought up. That was brought up by the other side, not the side that Nick is trying to call out, which I just find absurd. And once that got brought up, that jacked it up. That jacked up the intensity. When you have people like Joy Taylor saying that Angel Reese isn't as popular as Caitlin Clark because of the color of her skin, like what do you think the fans are supposed to do with that? When you tell an entire fan base that they like Caitlin Clark because she's white, and that they don't like Angel Reese because she's not, like, how are you expecting the fans to react to that? It's just, you're the ones that are creating that environment. And then now when that same player goes into the league and is being fouled at a high rate and being targeted, which is undeniably true, because the other players can't stop talking about her, it's like, what are you expecting the media to talk about now? That is the story. That is the story, the drama, the back and forth, the intensity, the fouls. Nobody wants to talk about this, the Sparks versus the Sky and how they came back down by 10, because there's not enough fans that care about the WNBA just yet. There's not enough fans that actually care about the game just yet. They do. They just want to see Angel Reese ball out or Caitlin Clark ball out, or watch them two go head to head and see what happens. That's what it is. It just becomes a reality TV show, and that's okay. That's okay. It's just the beginning stages of people becoming true fans and actually into the sport itself. But it's like that with anything. Formula One, F1, started to get really popular ever since it went on Netflix, Drive to Survive, which I highly recommend if you haven't watched it. And it got so popular because you learned all about the drivers and the drama and the back and forth. It wasn't so much about the, this isn't exactly relevant since it's a race car, but the X's and O's. It was about the drama. It was the reality show. You started rooting for different teams and drivers because of the people you think them to be and what you're watching them on TV, not so much because of like the actual technical analysis. You're not like, oh, I really hope, a very popular driver is Daniel Ricciardo, and you're rooting for him because you like him, and you're rooting against, say, like a Lewis Hamilton or it doesn't even matter, another driver, and it's not because you're saying, well, he's better than that or this. It's just because you're like, I just like this person. This guy's more likable, right? That's what it is right now with WNBA. That's the way how it is in the NBA. In a lot of times, people root against a Luka or root against some of these other players because they see them as, I don't like them. I just don't like them. People just don't like LeBron for whatever reason. They just don't like Steph Curry, but they love Jason Tatum. They love, again, name any players. People just like or hate other players a lot of times beyond just their game, and it's just what they perceive their personality to be. And you better believe that that transcends any culture war, any race, socioeconomic status, whatever. People just choose sides, and it definitely always goes across the aisle, and it just is what it is. And so to act like it's not is disingenuous. Whew, we got through that one. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours on this one. What do you guys all think about this never-ending debate on Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and just the WNBA as a whole? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.